Welcome to UGC Pro, the podcast where creative strategy, UGC innovation, and freelancing success collide. I'm your host, Kelly Rocklein, a self-taught creative marketer from the brand and creator side, with over a decade of experience working with hundreds of brands and driving over $500 million in revenue. Now, as a mentor to more than 10,000 aspiring UGC creators and creative strategists, I'm here to help you unlock your full potential. Whether you're here to sharpen your ad game or gain fresh insights to elevate your creative freelance business, you're in the right place. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, or habit stack. Is there a pile of laundry that you need to get through? What about unloading the dishwasher? Maybe it's a good time to go out and get some fresh air. Whether you're cuddled up on the couch or getting your steps in, I am so happy you're here. So without further ado, let's dive in. The best way to support the show? Follow, leave a 5-star review, and share it with a friend. It means more than you know. In today's video, I actually wanted to go over what to expect in your first week as a new creative strategist. This was actually a question that came up in the UGC Pro private community led by myself and Lamise Barnett, MBA. If you didn't know, every single right now Tuesday at 9 a.m. PST, we do a live 90-minute training. Think of it as like Q&A style, but also there will be dedicated trainings. Like in June, we have someone that is a professional resume strategist and auditor, and she's actually going to be coming into the community and literally going over best practices for anyone in our community that is a creative strategist that is applying for full-time opportunities that likely require a resume submission. This was coming from a UGC creator who is currently pursuing creative strategy but hasn't yet had the opportunity to work with a brand as a strategist. And they had basically just said, what should I expect? What does your first week look like? Which totally makes sense. Like if you've never been onboarded as a creative strategist, you probably don't know what to expect. So I will give you guys a few different examples as to how that first few weeks can look like as a strategist. And ultimately, it just comes down to the SOW, which is an acronym that stands for scope of work. Say, for example, if I'm only a fractional creative strategist for a brand working with them for only 10 to 15 hours a week, that's going to look very different from maybe being a full-time internal creative strategist working 40 hours a week. So I actually recently onboarded 2 clients as a fractional creative strategist. So this is fresh in my mind. So we have client A, where I was onboarded to work with them roughly 10 to 15 hours a week, at most 20. And there would be way more of a hands-on approach with them as compared to client B. So client A, I am literally leading their department. Granted, their department is very small. Like it's really just me, their head of marketing, another guy who's actually no longer with the company, the CEO, our senior video editor, 2 offshore video editors, and a copywriter. So there's really like nothing for me to necessarily lead, but I am technically like relieving who was the head of marketing, their role of like managing the day-to-day stuff that was bogging her down because she needs to focus on the high level stuff. So coming in for client A, I knew I was going to be much more hands-on, managing a lot of the actual physical production of these advertisements. Whereas client B is actually for an agency where they have me working on a lot of like brand market analysis tasks. Say, for example, one of the clients I worked on was European Wax Center, and I was doing like a full-blown competitor analysis, strategic next steps, like roadmap for them, which was kind of cool. And their team actually really loved the stuff that I put together for them. So awesome. But like now they have me working on another analysis for Perkins. What I'm getting at is client A is very different from client B, which is why I'm going to share both of these onboarding experiences and like overall scope of work, which this reminds me, I actually posted a video about client A going over the SOW that I signed. And if you've already listened to this part of the video, go ahead and skip to roughly the 18-minute marker. But if you haven't seen the video where I break down an example of an SOW as a fractional creative strategist, I highly recommend you stick around because this part of the episode will be super enlightening. Have you ever wondered what an SOW scope of work looks like for a fractional creative strategist that charges over $100 per hour? Well, I'm going to walk you guys through one really quickly that I just approved for a client that I closed yesterday. Yesterday, April 8th, was a really good day for me. I had 2 prospective clients, one a brand and one an agency that I closed on the spot within 30 minutes of each other. And 30 minutes before that, I closed what is a guest speaking role for one of the biggest events taking place this year in marketing. So yeah, yesterday was a really good day because now I have 15,000 $10,000 in retainers for 2 new clients working part-time. And I also get to attend and speak at a super well-respected marketing event. And I will tell you guys more as soon as I can. So for sake of simplicity, I asked UGC Buddy, our AI agent that connects to ChatGPT Pro, what exactly a fractional creative strategist is and why a brand would want to work with them. Creative strategy is the plan behind your content. It's what makes sure your videos, your ads, or social posts aren't just pretty, but they actually perform. It's about answering questions like, who is this for? What do we want them to feel or do? What kind of message or story will connect with them? And how should I look, sound, or be structured? Think of it like the blueprint before building a house. The content is the house, but the strategy is what makes sure it's built in the right place with the right rooms for the right people. So why do brands pay so much for creative strategy? And just to put it in perspective, the industry standard minimum for a contractor that's offering creative strategy is $50 per hour, which means if you're a creative strategist as a contractor and you're charging less, it is time to raise your rates upwards to $200+ per hour. Right now, the promo I'm running is my hourly rate is $150 per hour. However, if you commit to 10 hours a week, I will discount it to $125. And then for creative strategist salaries, I would say industry standard ranges anywhere from $70,000 upwards to $200,000+ depending on the agency, the brand, and also the role and responsibilities. So why exactly do brands pay so much money for creative strategy? Because strategy is what saves you money and makes you money when executed the right way. It is the difference between a profitable ad and wasted budget on ad spend that did not receive a return. A good strategist knows what hooks are scroll stopping, what messaging actually hits the target demographic, and which format is going to drive the most action. That means that the brands no longer have to guess about what works. They're able to launch more confidently because ultimately content without strategy is just noise. Anyone can look pretty in a video or make an aesthetic one, but the right creative strategist is going to ensure that every single content of that ad has purpose, is built to attract, engage, and convert the right audience. They also bring data and storytelling together. A top-tier strategist is not going to guess what to create. They look at the performance data, the trends, audience behavior, and past wins to reverse engineer success. They help their clients stand out in a sea of what is sameness. With the rise of UGC short form content and just like trends being trends and every brand on the planet following them, there is more content than ever. Like literally Meta and other platforms that you are investing ad spend into have never been more competitive than it is in 2025. But when you partner with the right strategist, you are able to have the right angles chosen by them that are going to make your brand unforgettable, but not only that, desirable. And when you hire the right creative strategist, they are helping reduce flops and stress because of how strategic they are. They're going to streamline your production, which means fewer shoots, fewer approvals, and higher performing content from the start. The bottom line is brands don't just want content, they need strategists to create content that converts, which is exactly why we created our 4-hour intro to creative strategy video course. We wanted to give UGC creators, marketers, and aspiring creative strategists the tools to think like a strategist, not just a creator. Learn the why as to what works. Hooks, scripts, angles, all backed by strategy and not vibes to help you charge more with confidence. Like I literally went from charging $25 per hour when I first started back in like 2015, 2016, and now I charge upwards to $200+ per hour as a creative strategist. Without a marketing degree, didn't go to film school, I'm literally a college dropout. If I can do this, you can do this too. You're just gonna need the right information to help you get there. I created this course single-handedly because I wished I had something like this in the start of my career, which is exactly why I'm now handing you the roadmap. I've linked our intro to creative strategy video course in the description below, along with a 35% off discount code. Don't forget to use code /35 at checkout. And then if you already took our intro to creative strategy video course, we actually launched our masterclass a few months ago in partnership with Lamise Barnett. It is our creative strategy X paid media masterclass where we marry both creative and paid media, helping you refine everything that you learned and have already applied to your business from our intro course, taking you to the next level as a strategist. I have also linked that in the description below. Same code works for 35% off. And then lastly, I promise I'm going to get into the SOW. We just launched our community. It is your private time with me and Lamise to ask any questions you have along your journey as a UGC creator, creative strategist, aspiring direct response video editor, maybe even paid media manager. Every single week on Tuesdays, we're going to be doing live Q&A sessions and or training calls. They range from 60 to 90+ minutes long. And then we also do body double sessions 3 times a week right now now for accountability to be able to help us get our tasks done in the time that we need them to. As someone that has AUDHD, is neurodivergent themselves, this has been a time to be able to catch up on tasks that I simply keep pushing off due to things like executive dysfunction. And even if you aren't neurodivergent, if you're just a busy entrepreneur, I can guarantee you right now there are some things that you've just put on the back burner that you could start checking off your list as soon as today. So the position is for a part-time creative strategist, independent contractor role. The estimated hours on a weekly basis are going to be between 15 and 20 hours, even though she did tell me it's okay if I go over because they do expect there to be busier weeks as compared to the 15 to 20 hours. And what's amazing is when you charge an hourly rate, it's exciting to go over because already I'm going to be making $10,000 max a month, but they're telling me like, oh, there might be weeks where you're busier. So just invoice us for more. Love. And then my rate right now is $125 per hour because they took me up on my promo, which is my hourly rate right now is $150, but when you commit to 10 hours a week, it's discounted to $125. And then my start date is next Monday. So that's going to be April 15th. Now they broke up the SOW into 5 sections, starting with creative strategy and leadership. They want me to own and lead the whole ad production strategy across video, static, and written creative. I have experience doing all of this. Before I left my full-time career to be a fractional creative strategist, I was a full-time creative director. So I have experience running creative departments, managing marketing budgets of 6, 7 figures, while also leading that strategy from high level, medium level, and low level, meaning I'm hands-on. They want me to collaborate with the media buying team to identify top performing angles and develop new concepts accordingly. This is something that you should be doing as a creative strategist, as a UGC creator. Like if you are a creative marketer, you should be closing that feedback loop to make sure that your creative is as strategic as possible. So as this fractional creative strategist, I will be collaborating more closely with their paid media team. I like to consider the creative strategist the glue between creative and paid media. They want me to own the ad ideation process and consistently generate high converting creative concepts. Now, this is obviously something I can't do on my own. They have a video editing team, they have a design team. I actually need to ask them for like a full breakdown of what they're currently working with internally. And basically when I'm leading this strategy, it's going to be my job to be able to delegate the work because I would not be able to do all this work on my own. I obviously need to outsource it to my team of doers and then also hire other contractors like UGC creators from the UGC Studio Network, which is our agency that we just recently launched, which if you want to learn more about that, I've also linked it in the description below. So not only do they want me to own the ad ideation process and consistently generate winners, but they also want me to manage and improve this pipeline, which I also have experience doing. They want me to lead bi-weekly ad production meetings to align priorities, review upcoming deliverables, and optimize workflows. So this is something I'm familiar with doing in tandem with, say, like the head of paid media. And this is just us like really making an effort to close the feedback loop, get on the same page, because keep in mind, paid media is separate from creative and I am the glue between the two. And it's going to be my job and responsibility to lead these meetings and connect the two separate departments. Then there is team oversight and collaboration. They want me to oversee a cross-functional creative team, including video editors, copywriters, thumbnail designers, and talent. I think a big reason why I had early success as a creative director and also like in a fractional role is because I started out as a video editor. I've worked closely with designers and copywriters. I, in a way, speak their language, or at the very least, understand the creative language that they are speaking. There is a parallel to an understood language that we have. And I feel like being the manager of this team of doers is not only easy for me, but is also going to make their life so much easier, because the worst thing ever is when you have a manager that doesn't understand the creative process and is expected to manage a team of video editors, designers, copywriters, etc. Like if you've never actually sat down and edited a video or designed a static, like how do you expect to manage them? Which is why I feel like I'm a really good manager when it comes to creative departments. They want me to serve as the liaison between creative production and the media buying team, which I kind of already emphasized, ensuring alignment with priorities and timelines. Again, I'm the glue between the two. They want me to coordinate with freelance talent and casting to secure the right individuals to record ads when necessary. Again, we're going to be dipping into the UGC Pro network with our agency, UGC Studio, which I'm super excited about. Actually, if you want to be added to our creator roster, I've also linked that in the description below. You just have to apply once and you'll just be literally added to a database for future opportunities. And then they want me to step in to write, to script, or to record ads personally when needed, which is something I'm totally okay with doing. I actually really enjoy it and I never want to not do UGC. They want me to manage the production calendar to ensure timely delivery of assets. In the past, I've had clients spending $4 million a month on Meta alone, and we were delivering 200 assets a week, a mix of statics and videos with iterations. So I have no concern when it comes to managing this timeline and delivery. They want me to ensure all assets meet the brand standards, but also platform compliance requirements. They said that this year they're really focusing on being extra FTC friendly for legal purposes. Now that they are such a high valuation, they feel like they kind of have a target on their back, which makes a lot of sense. I'm very familiar working with brands that started out really small, and as they began to scale and become more and more valuable, that's when they started to become more and more careful with the things that they're saying in their videos. And it's not like they were being like snake oily in the beginning, but it's just like the FTC is very strict. Like I worked for a health and wellness brand where like literally our product said all-in-one meal replacement shake, and on TikTok, we weren't allowed to have meal replacement on the product. So we had to literally blurt it out in order to run ads on their platform. They want me to conduct QA checks, which is quality assurance for every ad before handoff to the media buyers. This is something I will likely just outsource because time is money. And this is something that I don't need to be doing myself. I could literally task it to one of our students in our community at like a $50 per hour rate, which is another incentive to join our community. We will be prioritizing our community members on job opportunities. Also, right now we're doing like a 35% off promo where like you would actually secure that rate for life. Again, linked in the description below. Sorry, I'll stop plugging all my resources, but they're also so good. We had over 10,000 students take our resources. I'm quoting our students. It is the industry standard when it comes to resources for creators that are looking to break into creative marketing. And then they want me to build scalable systems for creative asset management and version control because like literally if there's a winning ad, we're going to then make 1,000,001 different iterations of it. And it's going to be so hard to keep track of. So that is going to be a task that I have to manage that I have experience doing. That one is less fun, but it just comes with the job. And then for performance and data-driven execution, they want me to analyze ad performance with the media team to inform future creative strategy. This is where those weekly meetings with the paid media team is going to come in super handy. It's a time together where we get to literally review the top spend ads and discuss why we think those ads performed well based on these standout key performance indicators. They want me to iterate on winning creatives by developing fresh hooks, angles, and variants, and maintain an understanding of performance KPIs to ensure creative output is aligned with testing goals. It's important to keep in mind that every brand has different KPI standards. Like first off, a brand might not even want a 1x ROAS. They might just need a 0.35x, which is less than 1x. And it's likely because they're a subscription brand, because their lifetime value of their customer eventually pays off, even though initially they are spending $1, but not making that dollar. Whereas sometimes there are brands that are like, we needed 10x ROAS in order to break even. I had a client at an agency who was like Airbnb for cabins on the East Coast, and they like genuinely needed a 10x ROAS in order to be successful. So it's important to get familiar with your client's key performance indicator goals. And then when it comes to meetings and communication expectations, they want me to be available for scheduled meetings with the head of marketing, who I did my interview with. She is amazing. I'm so excited to work with her more closely, along with the ad production team and the media buying team. Looks like all of those meetings might be weekly. And then I have the bi-weekly ad production meeting on Thursdays, which is where we're coordinating status updates, addressing blockers, and aligning priorities with the creative team and the paid media team. So I'm bringing both the departments together. And then they want me to just provide weekly updates via Slack, ClickUp, and or Zoom, and attend additional syncs as needed. All right, and that's what a scope of work looks like for a fractional creative strategist that is charging $125 per hour. Again, my original rate that I quoted them was $150, but I did say if they committed to 10 hours a week, I would discount it to $125. Now that you're familiar with the scope of work of what is Client A, let's dive into what my first week and second week looked like working with them as a fractional creative strategist. So first week at this Client A, I got onboarded during what was one of the like craziest times for them, because they literally were like, hey, Kelly, we know we just hired you. It's your first day, but we're actually going to change everything we've ever known as a company, from our offer, our funnel. We're switching from a webinar to a VSL. Now we're basically pivoting, and we need you to like start completely fresh and help us now with the new roadmap that we're following. They were very apologetic just because they were like, oh my God, we're so sorry. Like we promised things were like consistent up until this week, but the founder wants to change this for whatever reason. And I literally told them, I was like, guys, it's totally fine. Like, honestly, it's kind of an ideal situation, because like if I had started 2 weeks prior and learned everything I needed to learn up until that point, for them to then say, forget everything you just learned in the past 2 weeks, we're going to change everything, that would have been so much more overwhelming. I still would have been able to manage it though, because unfortunately, one of the like, I'll say cons of the industry in marketing is that literally everything changes in a moment's notice. Like that's probably just like the one consistent thing that you're going to get in this industry is the fact that nothing will ever remain the same. It can be both freeing, anxiety ridden, and mentally and emotionally exhausting. That said, if you are going into this industry, you need to maintain flexibility, understanding everything could change in a moment's notice for whatever reason. So I told them, I was like, guys, it's no big deal. It comes with the territory, right? Like I'm a fractional creative strategist. I work with a bunch of brands and agencies. What are the chances that a few of those clients might end up having shit hit the fan? Pretty likely, especially because it's in marketing. So let's see, when they brought me on, they all of a sudden were like, we actually want you to be the new avatar. We want you to be our official spokesperson. We're trying to offload the CEO and his wife, and we don't want them doing the videos because they're too busy. So they were just like, Kelly, we want you to create ads for us, and we hope that they'll become winners because we really want to be able to basically distance ourselves from the founders for no other reason than like they just need to like open up their bandwidth and focus on other high-level things outside of literally being an avatar and like filming videos like a UGC creator. Even though founder ads are obviously amazing, they hold their weight, they're incredibly effective when they come to DR ads, I also understand exactly what they're getting at. They're like, Kelly, we can't put all our eggs in one basket. We try to get a hold of the CEO. We try to get a hold of his wife. They're obviously very busy people. So like the last thing on their mind is filming an advertisement that was sent over Slack from the creative strategist or the copywriter. So again, I started my first week on a Tuesday. So I already didn't have that Monday. And then when I came in, they were like, we are literally changing things in real time. So while all this chaos is happening, I knew I needed to meet with my team to make sure that I am showing face, introducing myself, connecting with them. I am going to be working with them. So I made sure to connect with all relevant stakeholders, which is something you would want to do as a creative strategist. So depending on the department, this is again, client A, this is who I connected with. I met with the senior video editor who told me about the 2 offshore video editors in the Philippines. She's based in Vegas. We've worked together previously. She's the reason why I got connected to this client in the first place. And so she manages those editors. So basically like go to the relevant stakeholder for like the video editors. If you have in-house designers, meet with that stakeholder. If there's like a full-blown copywriting team, meet with that main copywriter to get the DL on their neck of the woods. And then outside of like copywriters, designers, video editors, you obviously want to connect with the paid media managers. So I met with the guy that's running our Google and YouTube ads, and then also the guy that is running our Facebook ads. Outside of that, there was another person who was like a higher up marketer. Actually, there's 2 of them. So I met with one of the guys 2 weeks in just because my schedule was really hectic. And then I met with the head lead person who interviewed me, hired me, was like excited to hire me because I am essentially offloading her of a lot of responsibilities that were making her life very difficult. And then outside of that, I scheduled time with the CEO. Now, I, out of habit, was going to set up a reoccurring call with the CEO every like 1 to 2 weeks. Now, this was for a few different reasons. One, I was burnt really badly in a past contract that I had where I wasn't meeting with the founder every so often because he like removed himself from the process. And that actually ended up biting me in the ass down the line because he tried to make it seem like because I wasn't actively meeting with him, even though he chose to remove himself from the performance creative process, that then fell on me and that it was actually me not doing my job. When like historically, when I work with a brand, either the founder is super involved or isn't. And when I get onboarded, I am able to figure out whether or not I should be meeting with this person. Is it adding value? Is it not? It just didn't make sense to put a reoccurring call on the calendar and instead just have async times where I was touching base with him. All that goes to say, I kind of approached this client A with overkill because I had like told the founder like, oh, I want to make sure I'm meeting with you every 1 to 2 weeks. And he was kind of like, oh, well, like you don't have to. I'm very low maintenance. You can meet with the team. It's no big deal. Long story short, by the end of the call, it was decided that it actually really doesn't make sense to have this reoccurring call up on the calendar, especially when he's a part of Thursday calls to begin with. I was just approaching that from a literal just like overkill perspective of I literally just got burnt for my Q4 contract because I wasn't meeting with the founder one-on-one. It somehow fell on me when like really the founder was just trying to get me out the door. Like he just didn't want me on the team. It's a long story, but all that goes to say, I kind of was persistent to have this call on the calendar when it wasn't necessarily like needed. It was for no other reason than me just like covering my ass, for a lack of better words. So you're going to want to meet with relevant stakeholders who you're going to be working with in any capacity. Again, that was me getting familiar with the creative team and connecting with those leads. So video editor lead, design lead, copywriter lead. I'm the department lead. so I don't need to meet with myself. Connected with the paid media managers, the founder, and the head of marketing. You're also going to want to make sure that you're onboarded to all of the platforms that the company is currently utilizing. For me, that was ClickUp, getting logged into my Google email. They use third-party tools like Iconic. I'm trying to think about other ones like HubSpot, Ripple, which is like an HR tool. They use like 12 of them. So a lot of my time that week was spent logging in, getting familiar with the tools I hadn't used before, and just making sure that I didn't miss any invites to platforms that they're using that maybe I didn't know about that got lost in the ether, which was something that actually happened a few times that week. So make sure when you get onboarded, you accept all your invites, that you either check with your point of contact or ask to get intro to the head of IT. That way, then you can also make sure that like none of the invites were missed and that anything tech related you're onboarded to. And then normally my first week as a creative strategist, I never have to reset expectations, but depending on the client, you might have to. Your first week is really just your absorption time. I go into that first week and never have the expectation put on myself by myself to actually start doing strategy. Am I maybe auditing top performing concepts they've already provided, which is another thing I'm asking for. Oh, can you share the top performing ads on any of the platforms that we're currently running on? If you have any like important documents for me to share, please share. If it's a health, wellness product or it's in like the financial space, I'll also ask for any kind of like legal documents for like okayed verbiage from attorneys, just because like the FTC is super strict and you just don't want to be producing scripts that could then get scrutiny from them. It sounds like a crazy concept, but unfortunately I've worked for way too many brands that are dealing with FTC issues. So this is just something to get in the habit of asking for. And then normally when I do these touch bases with all of these relevant stakeholders, I'll just say, one, is there anything that comes to mind that you think is so important for me to know, especially for my first week to set me up for success generally? Two, now that I'm here, how do you think I'd be able to support you to make your life easier? This is a question I love asking on the first call when I'm connecting with the team, because outside of like me literally doing my job, this positions myself as an ally, because I'm literally saying, now that the company hired me, how can I help you to make your life easier? That's why I'm here. How can I help you? How can I support you? That way then it solidifies day one, like Kelly is an ally. She's here to help. She's not here to take my job, whatever it might be. And then I can't remember where this came from, but I just remember one of my managers who's like an industry friend of mine, she went to an HR event where they basically said the first 90 days is the time when you're still learning as a new hire. Those first 90 days, you have to understand, are like not going to necessarily be those high impact moments. That said, it is so important to make sure in those first 90 days that you are creating waves for your client, which is kind of like contradictory, right? Because like HR has the understanding of, okay, when someone is a new hire, especially someone in a fractional role, their learning curve is going to delay a lot of the high impact things they were hired for in the first place. But at the same time, especially as a contractor in a fractional role, your first 90 days are so important. Like literally my Q4 contract that went sour was within my first 90 days and they sprung a 90-day review on me like out of nowhere, was never mentioned I'd have one, was literally basically like bamboozled and tricked onto a call to then be like interrogated about what I did in my past 90 days. Normally when I do 90-day reviews, I'm notified that there is a 90-day review. I'm also given time to prep for it. That's like a whole nother conversation and I might do a podcast episode on that, because that is what not to do as a brand representative, especially when your like PR move is to brag about hiring neurodivergent people. And when you get the person on the call that says, I'm autistic and I have ADHD. So when it comes to memory and communication being put on the spot, that actually doesn't put me in a place that I feel comfortable doing my best work, especially for a 90-day review when I'm literally telling you all the reasons why you should keep me, why I add value to the team, and everything else having to do with that. So ultimately, again, like first 90 days, there's a major learning curve. As a creative strategist coming in a fractional role or a contract role, you do need to make sure you are creating wins and keeping track of them. Whereas if you're a full-time employee, I'd say the company definitely has more flexibility and leniency, but still same thing applies. And that's normally something that I gather in my first few weeks working for this new client, is like figuring out where the holes are and how I can fill them. And that's normally something that I gather in my first few weeks working for this new client, is like figuring out where the holes are and how I can fill them.
And what I like to do is I like to keep a running document of all of this from day one. I'm not creating it on day one and finishing it. I am starting it on day one. I'm making note of the things that the company could do better, how I could help, looking for those holes that I could fill or figure out how I could creatively fill. Maybe the team needs more education, so I could dedicate maybe a lunch and learn a few times a week to make sure that we are building a team that understands best practices. Also in that same working doc, I have like a wins section that I keep track of. So I'm like actively writing that down. That way, then if someone ever decides to spring a call on me and they're like, Kelly, what have you been working on? What are things you've done for us? As much as I disagree with the fact of like just having a surprise 90-day review, you need to make sure that you're preparing yourself for what could be that moment where the client sits down with you and just does like a check-in, like, hey, how's it going? What are some things you noticed? You just never know what might come up. And I just think being prepared is the best case scenario. And then, starting week 2, I start to dive into like physical work. So for client A, I was literally starting to film concepts. I was writing scripts. I was auditing editor work. It really just depends again on the SOW. So for me, my work entails a lot of the actual process of creating an advertisement. So for me, that's being that avatar, filming top performing scripts. That way, then they can A/B test me against the founders, finding other potential avatars that I am not able to reflect if I want to hire like a Gen X woman to do the script or whatever it might be. I start considering who those other avatars could be that I could hire. The editors, they're working on concepts. So I start to audit them, leave them notes. We use Frame.io, which is a great tool to be able to leave like literal video editing notes at the exact time code that you want them. I also on week 2 started running the actual Thursday meeting calls, which is with the creative team, which was really just the CEO, the head of marketing, our senior video editor, and our copywriter. And then everything from there kind of just adjusts and pivots based on real-time situations, priority shifts. Being a creative strategist requires you to be super flexible and also intuitive when it comes to what you're actually working on. And this is something that's going to come with time. Obviously, it might not happen overnight. The more you start flexing this muscle, the better off you'll be. You're going to start to be able to anticipate what you should be working on, what you don't need to be working on. And ultimately, when it comes to understanding my priorities, I always like to think this brand hired me as a fractional creative strategist. How do I make sure that I'm making the biggest impact on the things that directly matter? And that's going to come down to making the brand money. And that is going to dictate what I'm actually working on and what I'm focusing my time on. And then for client B, basically for them, I'm kind of one-off projects where they assign me something and then all of a sudden that's like 20 hours of work, but then I might not hear from them for a few more weeks. And then they're like, Kelly, European Wax Center loved your brand market analysis. They want you to now do a deeper dive into strategic next steps, like creating a roadmap, or like, can you do the same for Perkins? And these tasks like literally take 10 to 20 hours to do. So they're kind of nice because sometimes it's, okay, I haven't heard from them in a minute. I wonder if they're going to end up meeting me again. And then it very quickly changes to, oh, wow, like that was a really nice invoice that I submitted for like 17 hours at a $125 hourly rate. And then for this client specifically, outside of those like one-off requests, my point of contact, he's actually going on an extended honeymoon. So he's going to be offline for almost a month. And so I'm basically stepping in as his replacement while he's out of town. So I would say in the next week to 2 weeks, my hours are definitely going to pick up, which is actually kind of ideal because client A, they're actually cutting back hours, which was something that I already saw coming based on discussions I was having with their team. So instead of doing up to 20 hours, it looks like for the rest of May, I'm going to be doing closer to 10 hours a week, meaning now I'm going to have more bandwidth to be able to focus on client B, which is this agency with really cool clients like European Wax Center and Perkins. I'm still trying to understand what the scope of work is going to look like being this guy's replacement for a month, because obviously that's going to be very different from the 2 decks that I worked on, or I guess technically 3. I worked on a 3rd deck, but unfortunately that client ended up churning, which sucks for the agency because it's like they paid me to do this deck and then that client churned, but that happens. Sometimes you're working on a client, other times you're getting the news that they walked. Another thing that kind of just comes with the territory. Hopefully this was insightful. If you guys have any follow-up questions, be sure to comment them down below and I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. As a reminder, I post every Monday and Friday between 9 a.m. PST and 12 noon PST. So if you aren't already subscribed and have our post notifications turned on, you know what to do. We also have tons of super helpful resources like our UGC University, our creative strategy course, and our masterclass. They're considered industry standard, so if you're interested in learning more about them, I've linked them in the description below. I'm also linking our private community, which is something that I launched literally like less than 2 months ago in partnership with Lamise Barnett. I kind of alluded to it in the beginning, but this is something that if you're looking for daily support, you have questions that are coming up on a regular basis, joining this community and being able to attend our weekly Q&A sessions and our working sessions. We have body double sessions for accountability where you literally just join. We set the intention as far as like sharing what we're focusing on, and then we make sure that we're doing it during this time together. You can keep your camera on, you can keep it off. And this indirect accountability has been able to help not only our students, but myself get through tasks that I've literally been pushing off for so long. And then if you're seeing this now in real time, Motion is having their 3rd annual Make Ads That Convert event. And I'm actually one of their headlining speakers, which is honestly insane to think about. Literally, I'm speaking with people like Dara Denny and Barry Hott and Alex Cooper and that woman Morella from Creative Milkshake. No big deal, no big deal. Where we're talking about topics revolving around AI and it's for free. So I'm linking that in the description below. Literally just RSVP and you'll gain access to the replays as well if you can't make the live trainings. And then last but not least, the 2nd annual Creator Confidential event is coming up on July 19th in Toronto, Canada. And this year's headlining sponsor is Motion. Like the same Motion that I'm speaking for in June is the sponsor for Creator Confidential, the industry standard tool used to basically make creative strategists superhumans when it comes to taking performance feedback and being able to strategize next steps based on whether it was a good ad or a bad ad performance-wise. We already sold out our VIP tickets. However, we still have the general admission event tickets that are going to go quickly. So do not wait. Secure yours today. And if you aren't able to make the event in person, guess what? This year we're doing virtual tickets as well. So I'm also going to link that in the description. All right. I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you the best of luck on your UGC and creative strategy journey.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the UGC Pro Podcast. I hope today's episode gave you inspiration and practical steps to apply to your business. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to hit follow, leave a review, and share it with another creator or marketer. And make sure to catch our next episode. Now, I don't want to give too much away, but let's just say you will not want to miss out. Until then, remember that success is a strategy and you are your most valuable client. So treat yourself like it. And lastly, if you aren't already connected with us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, X, look up UGC Pro and be sure to follow along. And as always, I wish you the best of luck on your UGC and creative strategy journey. The best way to support the show? Follow, leave a 5-star review, and share it with a friend. It means more than you know.